Welcome back to SoulBack. This is the R&B podcast. Kyle here, back with Tom and Ed. We were missing in action last week. You know, it was our 100th episode. We were supposed to be there for that, but we decided to turn up instead. Oh, wait, just kidding. The coronavirus is still a thing, so we were just chilling. But we're actually now here to celebrate the 100th episode.
Yes. First of all, players, there's no turning up in 2020. The only thing we turn up is the volume on the remote on the TV because you're stuck in the house. There's no rolling out. And if you are rolling out, you better have your mask on, you filthy people. Besides that, though, yeah, it's crazy that today is 100 episodes of SoulBack. Can you believe that we made it this long and I didn't have to murder either one of you?
And not only did we make it, guys, to number 100, but we are the number one R&B podcast in the world. If you don't believe me, go Google it right now. See what comes up first. There are a few others out there, a few competitors. We've been scoping them out, but we're definitely number one. And if we're not number one as far as views, we're definitely the best.
No question. Nobody can. I will say anything. I will go to my dying grave when it goes to R&B podcast. I will take it even further, player. When it goes to conversations, authentic conversations about today's music and, you know, the prior generation, I dare you to find somebody that's better than SoulBack. We got this on that.
Well, first of all, guys, a couple of questions here. You guys are saying we're the number one podcast for R&B. Is there another R&B podcast out there?
Oh my gosh!
Yes,
player. There are other R&B podcasts. You know, you're not expecting me to shout them out, but no.
Well, we like shameless plugs around here.
Well, I will say this: we have never given up. We've been at this for a while now, and I've seen people come and go. People, if it doesn't blow up right away, you know, they're in it for their fame themselves, but we actually love doing this, and we've been at it even when it wasn't blowing up overnight, and that's why we're still here.
That's it. And I think a lot of our listeners understand and appreciate the love that the three of us have for what we're doing. It's not about having something to come out and then we blow up and become famous in a month. Because if that's the case, you're already on the wrong track. But we've experimented, we've had guests, we've done lots of cool things. We'll talk about that later today. But most importantly, we continue to evolve to just find new ways to talk about this music we love. So, shout out to everybody who's followed us on this 100-plus episode journey.
Yep, and before anyone gets smart with us and said, wow, your video podcast only lasted 2 episodes and now you're back to audio, Tom's Wi-Fi was a little janky today, so we couldn't get the video on, but we're going to try again next week for that.
Listen, I'm here in New York City, and everyone is on Wi-Fi right now in New York City, and everything is super slow because no one can leave the house, so that's my excuse.
Well, what was your excuse when we've done it the last 2 weeks?
No, you should have seen what happened last week here in New York City, man. Everyone was disobeying the rules and the law and going out partying in the street. True story. Look it up.
Oh, I've heard. There's a reason why my past week at work has been nothing but rocketing coronavirus numbers. But that's an argument for another day. Go see me on E.T. Bowser on Twitter to yell about that. Gets me stressed.
It certainly is. Yep. Guys, we have a lot to talk about in R&B. A lot has happened in the last 2 weeks, but I really wanted to take this portion of the podcast. I don't know how much we're really going to talk about, you know, in terms of us, but I think right now is an appropriate time to really, because I know we have some new listeners, some new fans. I think it's time to reflect back on a couple of key moments with this podcast, you know, some of our achievements, and also just how we got started. And I'll say this, for people that are interested in starting a podcast or figuring out how we did it, honestly, if you look through our group chats, this is all we talk about. We talk about R&B, along with some dumb things. Like, let me throw this one at you guys here, just so we can get the ball rolling and we can break the ice here. When you guys take a shower, are you facing the water or are you facing away from the water? This is a serious question.
Only player, if you follow Kyle on Instagram, he asks the weirdest questions like this. And I would never think about this. Who doesn't? I face the water. What weirdo has the water facing their butt? Let me know.
I'm a water facer too. I had to think about it for a minute because it's like routine. I mean, I've been doing it for many years now, taking showers, so I didn't even realize what I was doing in there.
So anyways, that's some food for thought for you guys.
Well,
Something
you
for y'all
didn't
to
answer,
listen.
Kyle. What are you? Are you water in the face or water in the butt?
Water in the face. But guys, I tried water. I don't want to say in the butt because that sounds weird, but I was facing away from the water. And hey, you get a nice little back massage from the water, so it's not all bad.
Well, hold on. How could you even wash yourself if the water's not even facing you? How do you get a stream of water to wash yourself?
I don't do it like that, so I can't answer that. But people do it, Tom. I looked at my poll yesterday. It was 50-50.
I do turn around at some point. It's not like I'm only facing one point at one time. I'm like moving around. So there are times where I'm turning, but typically I'm facing forward. Like, how else are you going to see what you're doing, to Tom's point?
So something for you guys to think about here. But let's reflect a little bit on this SoulBack podcast, because a lot of people may know, a lot of people might not know. We had a podcast before the SoulBack podcast. It was the I Got Soul and Soul in Stereo podcast, and we had to change the name. We had to rebrand because it was such a long name and no one could remember it. We changed it to SoulBack. I don't know how memorable it is now, but it certainly is shorter. and it's been 100 episodes of SoulBack. We've had numerous guests, and it's been great. But I really want to take this time to talk about how this even came together, this podcast, this trio. A lot of people think Ed is part of I Got Soul. No, he's like a cousin. He runs Soul in Stereo. But Tom, do you want to fill in the listeners on how this all came together?
Well, this podcast, I think, was your idea many years ago. It definitely was your idea, right? But
No,
Ed,
it was his idea.
Ed came into the mix with us. What year was that, Ed? 2013, 2012?
I want to say it was 2013. It was. I remember the first thing I did for I Got Soul was a Charlie Wilson album review. I remember that. So whatever year that was, it might have been 2013.
And so Ed reached out to us. He was a fan of what we were doing, which is amazing. We've had a few people do that, and it's always love when that happens. Wanted to work with us. And Ed, I've just got to say my most memorable moment of working with you was when you used to write album reviews for us, and you rated an album a 3.5, and the manager called me immediately and was flipping out and said this artist was about to go out of business or something.
Oh, yes. I remember that very well.
3.5 out of 5.
3.5 out of... If I remember right, the words that you told me this manager said was that... And to be fair, this was not the artist. This was the artist staff. Said that we were taking food out of that artist's mouth. Because I said the album was a 3.5 out of 5. Not a 1 out of 5. Not a 2 out of 5. Not a 3 out of 5. 3.5 out of 5. It was a very positive review. This person lost their mind.
Mm-hmm. And somehow, our banter on group text and all that evolved into a podcast, because we talk about R&B pretty much all day, every day. And I'd say those chats are priceless. You won't find everything you find on the podcast that we talk about in the chat.
No.
Some of it is a little bit too much, I'd say, but you get a lot of the good stuff on here, though. But, man, I'd say it's been pretty entertaining over the years, guys.
It's been quite a journey, because as Tom said, I kind of came on just for some background. Soul in Stereo was doing its thing. I was just looking for ways to kind of branch out and to connect with some different people who were actually doing some similar content. And I was a fan of the site, and I had been a fan for, a few years at that point. So this was an opportunity to link up, and it worked. And not only did we just work as a partnership, we clicked as a friendship because we had so much in common. That was able to kind of grow from the album reviews until so-and-so started complaining. Then I was like, I'll keep the album reviews on my side because people are petty. So we went from that to the podcast to Kyle kind of called me the cousin of I Got Soul. I've always described it as sitcom Guy Next Door. You know, when the sitcom and the dude walks in the door and the crowd's like, yeah. I'm kind of like that.
Yeah. Well, before we talk about some of these guests that we have had on this podcast, I want to take this time because we have developed a lot of inside jokes during this podcast, and honestly, sometimes I'll say things without understanding or realizing that we have so many new listeners tuning in, and they have no idea who Barry Bars is, or who Montrez Jones is, or who Lachelle Wallace is. So I'm just going to take this time to break it down for everyone, so that we're all on the same page and we all have an understanding of who's who and what's what. So Barry Bars, Tom, he's a good friend of ours. He's been on the podcast before, but from my understanding, he's
Barry,
like the huge Jeremiah.
No, Barry actually was another version of Ed, believe it or not. He came to New York and he reached out to You Know I Got Soul and wanted to work with us, and he became a contributor. He came with me to events. So that's how he came in the mix. And then he just randomly joined, I think, a show when Ed couldn't make it or something like that. And that's how we always joked we're going to replace Ed with Barry Bars.
Yeah, Barry had a few runs. And shout out to Barry. That's my guy. I still talk to him a lot on social media. So he's out there doing his thing. He's like the master of plants. He's like the male poison ivy out here doing his thing. So shout out to my boy. I'm proud of the strides he's made. But yeah, to compare him to me is ridiculous, because some of his opinions, I love you, Barry, but some of these opinions be suspect, dog. Quite suspect.
Well, he was the one who told me Bryson Tiller was the next big R&B superstar as far as like traditional sounding. Next thing I know, I heard him trapping and rapping.
He told me this too, and I was like, "What are you talking about?"
Oh,
he wasn't
we'll
wrong.
give Barry props for one thing, man. He left R&B and moved on to plants. Some days I feel like we all should have moved on from R&B and moved on to plants or something else.
Look, player, some of these reviews that I had to do is like reviewing a plant.
All right. The next name reference that we should go ahead, Tom. I was going to say we have to bring up Lachelle Wallace. This is my homegirl. I haven't heard from her in a while, so wherever you are, Lachelle, shout out to you. But if you go on our YouTube page, she is our number one commenter. She always writes her honest opinion on the artists that we're interviewing. Some of it is positive, some is negative, but it's always honest, and you got to appreciate that. She gets into like YouTube fights every like other day, and I don't know when or how we reference her, but we do. So that's why I think Lachelle is like our symbolism for like keeping it real.
Yeah, Lachelle's cool. She's also stops by Soul and Stereo a lot, and actually we had her on the site maybe a month or two ago. It's been some time during pandemic land, but we had her on for a head-to-head. So shout out to the homie. It was a good one.
So Kyle, we've had a lot of guests on this show, Kyle. Can I ask you, Kyle, who is one guest we should have had on this show who we did not have? And I'll let you interpret that however you want.
Are we allowed to keep it real now since I've actually interviewed these people?
Yes. Oh, God.
Let Ed say the names.
Well, Ed, the running joke on this podcast is when we schedule an interview with someone and they no-show, what do we call that? They're pulling
somebody
a what?
pulled a Nivea, huh?
Oh, come on. Let's put it out there first like this, right? Because scheduling guests is not easy. And, we've got probably over 50 guests, big-name R&B artists and producers who have come through this podcast. Let's put it this way. It's not easy to schedule guests, to get them to sign on, to get a hold of them in the first place, to coordinate a time when we could all make it. So let's put that out there first. But the fact that we've gotten so many, and let's be honest, some have flaked on us. More than once, some have flaked on us. So it hasn't been all fun times.
More than twice, Tom.
Oh,
more than 3 times.
More than 3 times. And again, I'm gonna I'm going to let Tom move into the background because this is the part when I step forward and you send your tweets to E.T. Bowser because what I say is not affiliated with, I got told it's affiliated with Soul and Stereo. So send your heat my way. But yes, pulling a Nivea is a thing. Usually in the DMs. But I'm okay with saying it because you guys did end up interviewing her for IG and it worked out cool, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, yeah.
But yes.
Yeah, Nivea actually loves us. So we're good.
Tom is right. There's a lot of times, there are times where, even with the three of us, sometimes some weeks we can't get on or there's only two of us because life comes up or work comes up. So with these artists, we definitely understand if something comes up and we have to rearrange because they're doing us a favor to kind of allow them to share the love of the art that they have and vice versa. But when you're talking about you couldn't make it because your phone broke or you had to go to Sprint
oh man,
or you had to pick up your kid and go to the dentist.
Well, first of all, let me say, I don't even know if people realize this. We're in 3 totally different locations around the world. I'm in New York City. Ed, where are you? Somewhere in the Deep South. And Kyle's in Canada. So, just kidding. Ed's in Alabama.
Yes, I was waiting for you to clean that up.
So the fact is, to coordinate just us 3 is a challenge. I just remember when we'd all dial into our conference to get this podcast started, and we'd wait to see if the guest showed up. Like that, because we never know.
I mean, that was often a thing. We got 3 different time zones. We got East Coast, we've got Central, we've got... What are you on, Kyle? Are y'all Mountain?
I'm on West Coast.
I'm not sure what...
I'm on Pacific.
Oh, yeah, I guess you're West Coast. Yeah, you're Pacific. So, you got that, then you got an artist calling in from Lord knows where. Oh. Then we've had artists call in from actual convenience stores. I don't know if you want to drop that name.
Oh. Yeah, we've got cars. We've had someone in a gym, I think, watching their son play. I don't know if you guys remember that one.
Oh, yeah, that was actually one of my favorite ones. Yeah, that was actually a good interview. So, yes, these artists come in from everywhere, but we're committed to making it work. And a lot of times, almost all the time, it works pretty well. And if it don't, we got the magic of editing to make them sound halfway decent.
Yep. So,
you know what's a memorable one for me? Can I just share one?
Yeah,
you remember
ahead, Tom.
In the original version of the podcast when we had RL on there, and it was right when the Why You Always Lying guy was like in the news or whatever, and RL clarified it for us or gave his take. That was fun.
Yo, Tom, we got some YouTube money off that one. We got the clicks and the views from that.
I mean, that thing got a lot of clicks based on that fool who knows where that guy is now.
But it was just another example of being timely, and that's the journalist in me making sure that we have artists and conversations that are timely and relevant. That was an example of having the right person at the right point in the right time to talk about something that was going on at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So, guys, I don't want to get too far away from what we're here to talk about, which is current events, but a couple of things here. R&B draft, this was on my notes. We're actually going to do another R&B draft soon. I'm just trying to plan out the logistics of it. Tom and Ed, of course, you guys will be involved in this. We'll probably do it on video. But if you haven't already, go check out our original R&B draft. I think it's one of our most innovative ideas, and it was super fun. I think Brian Angel ended up winning that one.
Yes, I'm still bitter. Oh, I know how it happened. The stands came out with
number one.
Yes, but the stands, they just went crazy. They were just like, Brian, and they just went nuts.
Do you remember when he picked Tank and everyone just went silent and thought it was a joke?
Yes, but he still demolished us because it was all about the stands rolling for their boy. And I ain't mad because good for y'all for clicking on the podcast. But yes, I was
don't downplay J26's fans, man. They're a big thing still. But before we get into some new topics here, I'm going to bring up a couple of headlines or topics that we had from the last 3 years, I guess, of our podcast. And I want to see whether these topics are still relevant in R&B. Are you guys ready for this?
Yeah, this is interesting.
This is one dating back to 2017 here. Suddenly, every artist is mumbling or Jamaican.
I love that title. I love it. You remember that era? Remember that era, guys?
How can we forget it? It's not like it's removed that far.
Yeah, aren't we?
One of the two is
era?
still happening. Kind of, we're still there.
Oh, we haven't advanced too far since then, unfortunately.
Not really.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're not as Jamaican as we used to be, but we're still
No. The next one we have here, can Bruno Mars save R&B? Ed?
It was looking good for a minute, but now it's kind of like...
If we were to pull up the tape, guys, you would hear me say there's no chance he could save R&B, and my prediction came true.
Well, yeah, you acting like you made some grand prediction that no one could believe. It was pretty realistic.
All right. This one is interesting here. We had asked, should Usher release a surprise album? This was around the Hard to Love album. We all unanimously said no. He actually followed through with that. For the A EP, he dropped it out of the blue, and it went nowhere, so I guess we were right.
I was going to say, see how that turned out.
I actually still think he should do it right now, but he's not going to do it. I don't know what's going on. That's another topic for another time.
Mm-hmm. Here's one for you. Please unblock us, Keisha Cole. I think we're still blocked.
It's crazy. I feel like we're one of her biggest supporters, and we just got blocked along the way for no reason. It's so crazy.
Well, and I've told this story before, how I almost got blocked by her. Keisha just flies off the handle. I said something. I can't remember if I did like a album ranking. I did some post for Keisha, a review, album ranking, something. And it was positive. But for whatever reason, something in my tweet made her mad. So she sent me back a bunch of those red-faced frowny emojis. Like 3 of them. And then I replied, I was like, Keisha, I was positive in the review. And then she replied back, oh, my bad, haha. So I don't think it takes much to get her riled up. So she may have seen one thing, misinterpreted it, and blocked the world. That's what I think happened, Joe.
This one was fun as well. Remember when we used to try to nominate artists into the Hall of Fame, the R&B Hall of Fame, and we almost got Trey Songz in there?
Oh, that was so annoying, that Hall of Fame thing. Even Monica didn't make it, remember?
Oh, Tom yelled and screamed about Monica in the Hall of Fame for about, I don't know, it was like 6 months.
No, I use that as an example. Well, if Monica's not in the Hall of Fame, then this person's not getting it either. I remember using that.
Yes, you did.
That was good.
To death.
Let's try that again one day.
The fans really loved that one. I'll give it that.
We had the Mortal Kombat thing where we would literally bring our guests in and make them on the spot pick between 2 artists. That was super uncool, but we did it.
That was super uncomfortable for the guests.
Yes, they would get very... we had to ask that because they would get very nervous.
Can you explain that, Kyle, for those who haven't heard that?
So the concept was sort of like a March Madness where we would have artists go face-to-face, and we would ask a special guest who they liked more. So, for example, I think we asked Dalvin who was better, Music Soul Child or I want to say it was Joe. And he couldn't answer because he was trying to be politically correct, which kind of defeated the whole purpose of the battle. But on a weekly basis, we would ask these guests who was better, and then they were supposed to answer. It sort of fizzled out once we realized no one was actually going to give us an honest answer other than Case. So that was what it was.
Yeah, I was going to say
Case
was good. I think we always ended up with Music Soul Child and Keisha just to rile up me and Tom.
We did.
But,
that was good.
Fans, fans loved it. The artists were always kind of like, they're both great. They're both great.
Can I mention a couple real quick, Kyle?
Well, yeah, but before you do, that makes me realize maybe the R&B draft is not the best idea.
Politics.
No, that's a little different because it's not pitting one against the other. You're just picking somebody. I think that still has legs.
Go ahead, Tom.
I loved a couple. There's two titles I wanted to mention. We took Ashanti for Granted in 2002. That was the title of one of our early podcasts. We did,
that
right,
still
Kyle?
remains true to this day, Tom. No question.
I mean, I don't even know what to say about or how did that even become a title of one of our podcasts? I don't know
why, because we're dealing with Kyle. How did we take Ashanti for granted? If anything, we put on too high of a pedestal.
And then last one, we had a title called Hip Hop Needs to Leave R&B Alone. I'll just say hip hop has totally devoured R&B at this point, and there's no turning back.
No, it's yeah. Unfortunately, the toothpaste is out of the tube. There, it's over for that.
Well, you never know. Hip hop might spit it back out, but we'll see. There's still a chance.
Yeah.
If it do, it's going to be all chewed up. I don't know. We want to see it.
It sounds chewed up as it is now.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Let's get into this R&B trivia here. I know a lot of people are waiting for us to talk about current events. We've done a lot of reflecting, and this is the last reflection here. Ed, we have an R&B trivia for you.
Oh, God. What is it this time?
Let's test your memory, Ed. All right. I put together a list.
Terrible.
Okay, you're going to lose on this one then. I put together a list of all the guests we had on the SoulBack R&B podcast.
Okay.
I want you to name 5 out of the first 10 guests we had on this show.
What, chronologically? I'm not going to remember the 5 of the... I can name 5 guests, but the first 10? I will throw some names out.
Think of the early episodes. Come on. Even
well,
Kyle
yeah,
of
course he has. He's seen the list. But my point is, I remember them chronologically. So I'm going to throw some out. We'll see. You ready?
Yep.
All right. When was Case?
Number 3. Good job.
Really? I thought it was much later.
I'm going to give you one. Kevin Ross was number 1.
Really? I didn't think that was...
I don't know if that shakes anything up in there, but that was number 1 for our SoulBack.
All right, so we got that one. Tidra Moses.
Yes, that was number 2. So that's 1, 2, and 3 right there. Impressive.
Bobby V.
Kyle, correct me if I'm wrong, but he was on the original podcast. He wasn't on SoulBack.
Okay.
Nope, he was not on SoulBack.
Okay.
I gotta say, the first 10 were pretty impressive. I mean, damn.
No, we've got a bunch, but that's the thing, differentiating between SoulBack and their original episodes. That's where it's a little tricky. When was JD?
Just do this. What? Yeah, he was 8.
Okay.
I'll never forget when we had him on the show. Kyle, remember this? He made a comment like, well, who have you even had on this podcast? It just goes to show you I love R&B because I'm doing this thing.
Yep.
He was one of our biggest.
Mm-hmm. Tom, you want to just give the list? This is a Tom. I don't think.
Wait a minute. Give me a couple more.
Well, my point was I just wanted to share with everyone, who we've had. But go ahead, Ed. I'll give you 2 more shots.
All right. When was Stokely?
Yeah, he was number 10. This is a good memory. I would have got none of these.
I'm just really thinking back to the most memorable interviews.
Kyle mentioned one of the people earlier. I don't know if that helps.
No, it was Kyle. I wasn't paying attention. When was Playa? That was probably a little later.
No, that was late.
Yeah. I know we had Smoke on, but that was earlier days. I don't know. I give up.
All right. I would say Dalvin was number 4 of Jodeci.
Yes,
that was
Dalvin.
The one Kyle mentioned. So my point of this was, for anyone who's listening to this show right now and hasn't checked out some of our earlier episodes, we used to have a guest on every show. And we've had some pretty big names, like Ed mentioned, Tidra Moses, Case, Mr. Dalvin from Jodeci. We've had Nokio from Drew Hill, Jermaine Dupri, Jay Holiday, Pleasure P,
Jay Holiday. How'd I forget that?
Yep.
That was the best one.
Mila. Peebo Bryson. Now that was a good one right there.
Peebo, yes. How did I forget Peebo?
We've had Shante Moore, 112, Jazz of Drew Hill, Montel Jordan, Pam from Total, John B, Music Soul Child, Vivian Green. I'm not going to name everyone, but Jagged Edge. Cut Close was in there. Eric Roberson.
Yep.
Salam Remy. That was a really good one. Philip Bailey from Earth, Wind, and Fire. Remember that one?
Yeah, I missed that one. I was very disappointed I had to miss that one.
So, if anyone's listening right now and you haven't heard all of these, you got homework. We've had some pretty big interviews, and they were fun. Donnell Jones was a good one, too.
Mm-hmm.
So, there you go.
We've done a lot, guys, and I don't know if we're going to bring the guests back. We might, now that we've transitioned over to video. I think we might be able to do it, but we'll see. I think the biggest thing for us is making sure that our podcast is consistent and it's concise, and that everyone will be able to enjoy it, so we'll see. I know we've been doing these Instagram Lives as well, but you never know. Someone might pop up in one of these podcasts and talk with us, but it's been a great ride, guys.
Kyle, before we talk about new stuff, let me just say one thing. You know, everyone listening, it might seem like fun, and we're just, talking back and forth. We actually put a lot of work into these things. The scheduling, like we mentioned earlier, getting all of us on the same time. We're in 3 different time zones. That's been a challenge. So, Kyle hosting every week and preparing topics. We love R&B, but it takes work to put these things together. So we appreciate everyone. This thing has only grown, and we appreciate all the shouts we've got along the way. So, thank you everyone who's rocked with us for all 100 episodes, and we appreciate you.
Yeah, to echo what Tom said, I don't want it to be lost that, and I'm not, trying to brag, but listen, you've seen the list, you've heard the names, and you've seen the consistency that we've had. And the only reason we've had that is because it takes work, y'all. They just don't magically happen. I've seen some of the haters on Twitter say, "Oh, I wish somebody would just give me some artists to come on the show." I'm like, nobody gave us anything, player. This is years of, whether it goes to going back to connections that have been made and relationships that have been built, or going back to, in my case, like kind of my journalistic standpoints when it comes to interviews. This is all stuff that was built upon on a foundation, and doing your research before we get started. We don't have artists just come on and we're just like, you got an album coming out, right? Like, you got to put in your research, got to put in some time, and once the artists know that they're coming into a professional environment with people who understand their craft and love their craft, that only makes the interviews better. That's why we've had such energetic, fun interviews, from Peebo to Jay Holiday going ballistic. It's been some fun times.
Yep. And thank you to all the listeners for always checking us out. I want to give a quick shout out here to Todd Davis, who harasses us every week when he doesn't see a new episode out, so shouts to him. Let's talk about some new music here. Yeah, let's talk about some new music here. We've done a lot of reflecting, but hey, we're still obligated to talk about R&B. As crappy as it is sometimes, or as good as it is, we still got to talk about it. Ed, you're really excited about this one. Chloe and, I'm going to go with Halle because I think it's Halle and not Haley. Chloe and Halle, new album. Very hyped right now. Ungodly Hour. Is it worth the hype?
Yeah, first of all, I tried to do this before we got on the podcast. It shows the days that we don't have like the 106 and Parks and the Video Souls. I don't know how to say these folks' names. I thought it was Chloe and Halle. Is it Haley? Halle? Someone will correct us and make us look stupid on Twitter, I'm sure. I have no idea how to say that child's name. But yes, this album is actually pretty good. It's funny because I had released a top 25 albums of 2020 so far list. And I had dropped that list literally maybe an hour before midnight. No, it was like an hour after midnight. So the album had just come out. What do I get for my hard work and determination in showcasing the best of R&B for the past 6 months? Oh, you didn't have Chloe and Halle. Where's their review? You left them off. They should have been on. Player, I'm good, but I ain't that good. The album had only been out an hour. Let me get back to it. So I did get back to it. And yes, y'all were right. It probably deserved to be on the list. And here's why I enjoy the album so much. We have talked many, many, many times through these 100 episodes of SoulBack that one problem R&B seems to be having is that there is a loss of maturity. I'm talking about not just from the young artists. I'm talking about there's some 50-year-olds out here that y'all love that are acting like 16-year-old dudes in the club. These girls are 20, singing about songs and themes that are not only well produced and well sung and from a young perspective, but they're singing about it with maturity. It's not immature. It's a young album from young artists, but they are approaching these topics with maturity. Who else is putting out a song that's like, hey, I'm lonely, but in my loneliness, I'm kind of learning about myself. So it's cool being lonely right now. Who does that? There are adults out here that still turn up in the club with bad knees and cool water cologne. You need to sit down and be more mature. I really appreciate an album that's able to be fun and also speak with a more mature tone. That's why I'm feeling this one so much.
Tom, I've got a question for you here. Ed just mentioned that he did a list of album releases so far in 2020. And as you know, the majority of 2020 has been dominated by this COVID-19 pandemic. And early on during this thing, we were trying to figure out, is it a wise decision to put out music during this time? Now that we've been through this pandemic for the last 2 or 3 months, was it a missed opportunity for some that didn't put out music during that time? Or do you think it was wise that they put it on hold until maybe once the pandemic's over?
Man, I'm trying to be politically correct, and because I personally, we interviewed some artists and we're friends with some artists who we know pushed their projects back. But this is 2020. I just can't see how these artists are thinking, and they're thinking radio campaign and rollout and in 2020 it's a totally different way of doing things. I don't think you need to rely on radio and being able to show up to radio stations to promote your song as the sole way of doing things. So, but then again, hold on. The other side of it is I could have definitely seen these artists put something out and it just went, come and gone with them not knowing how to release it properly. So I see both sides, but man, I just wish some of these artists would have got creative with their technique and their strategy of how to release it. And it's definitely, from that regard, definitely a missed opportunity in my opinion.
I agree with Tom. I definitely see where we're coming from, and I keep hearing, not only from my position and as a public servant, so to speak, the day job, but also in the entertainment world, where everybody's like, well, we're just going to hold until things go back to normal. Let me tell y'all, from somebody that works in the government, normal ain't happening anytime soon. This may be the new normal. So instead of waiting for the days where we can do things traditionally, I feel like it's on us to start trying to look at things with a new 2020 lens. And that means doing some things differently and creatively. And Chloe and Halle, they did what they did. And I haven't checked the numbers, but the buzz on social media has been strong. Of course, you can't compare that to a veteran artist who's been around a while. Their audience is much older than Chloe and Halle, so it's going to be a little different. But there are ways to make this work, and I think holding back and waiting for, I'm going to wait until I tour, you might be waiting to 2023 if you're trying to do that. So I think it's on artists now, and maybe they're starting to realize this, but can't go back to the old ways because the old ways aren't happening anytime soon.
Well, I'll tell you one artist that has truly benefited from this pandemic. It's a good friend of ours on the site, Tank, Ed. Shoutouts to Tank. He dropped most recently another EP, another piano EP. He had dropped While You Wait a couple of months back, and now he's dropped Worth the Wait. Both piano EPs, kind of a return back to that original sound. And, I don't know what the numbers look like in terms of streaming. I haven't looked at that. But from what I can tell, and Tom, correct me if I'm wrong, he's starting to win back a lot of those fans that were mad at him when he went into that trap sound. He's giving people what they want. Is that fair? Because I saw John Betts commenting and saying, finally, Tank is returning.
It's such a complicated situation. I don't even know what to say. I mean, this is kind of just what he can create on his own, while he's in his own house on the piano because he plays piano. I don't know if he's winning anyone back. I mean, I really don't know what to say because as soon as that next album comes, it's probably going to cater to radio. So I don't know, Ed. What do you say?
I'm with you. I think that this is a great outlet for him. For me, I don't see this as so much a return to form. I think it's more of a, hey, y'all, remember I can used to do this? This is proof I can still do this. But I don't necessarily think this is a total switch in direction. Maybe it is, but I think it's a little too presumptuous to be like, oh, okay, we're going back to this direction now. To me, this feels more like an opportunity to fire back at critics like myself, just being honest, who have said, oh, this dude has lost it in this realm. He's too busy doing this. He won't give us that. And he's like, oh, I can still do this. And this is an opportunity to prove us wrong, which is cool. If giving us good music is your way of getting back, keep on getting back, because I'm for it. I haven't heard the EP. I like the first one, so I'm glad to hear that this is still in that same realm. But I don't necessarily know if this is a switch. It may just be a stopgap.
I'll say one thing, Tank. This Tank, if you're listening, this is Tom from IGotSoul.com here. Just so we're clear, we knew you had we knew you had it in you the whole time, man. Even when you were making commercial friendly music, we knew you were capable of something like this. And actually, me and Kyle, we've been waiting, right, Kyle?
Oh yeah, we've been waiting for many, many years. And Tank acknowledged, and this is the coolest thing. Tank even acknowledged that he's allowed to make music like this because he doesn't feel the pressure from the labels, because this is just something that he's putting out on the side. So it's a difference, and I think Tank understands the business more than a lot of these R&B artists. So when Tank releases music, there's a strategy behind it. We might not agree with it all the time in terms of the sound, but I think Tank knows what he's doing.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. I never questioned that at all. I think that he does know what he's doing. My issues kind of stem elsewhere that I won't get into. Go check some old episodes. This would be nostalgic about what my real issues were, because it wasn't so much that. It was more about shading other artists, but we'll get to that another time.
Yeah. A couple of new projects that are coming out, guys. John Legend, Bigger Love. His album is coming out next week. This is really a surprise. I knew John Legend was set to come out with an album at some point. He had the single Actions a couple of months back with that sample. And I think we were all waiting. It seemed like the buzz had died. And now he's ready to drop the new album. And just recently he announced that he'll be doing a VERZUZ battle with Alicia Keys, which is on a Friday night. I don't know if I can actually stay up for that. That's going to be a tough one. But will this VERZUZ... I don't think I can stay up for that one. But do you think this VERZUZ battle will benefit John Legend? Because I feel like, and this is my personal opinion, he's put out a lot of songs, a lot of great songs. But honestly speaking, I think most people, the general public, only know 3 songs by him.
I think the issue isn't so much that... Look at, when it comes to our bigger artists, look at how we see their perceptions when it comes to overall. We're not talking about the actual listeners of this podcast, because if you listen to the SoulBack podcast for 100 plus episodes, you're a super fan. You understand all his albums, every single, every album cut. You ask Joe Blow on the street, they are only going to know the biggest hits. And that comes down to every artist, really. Look at a Tupac. You ask them to name a Tupac song, they're going to name one of the 2 big ones, California Love and something else, and then that's that. So I don't think that's necessarily a reflection of what John Legend has going on. My issue with John is that over the years, pretty much around 2nd or 3rd album, he just kind of lost his way when he went. And I know we a lot of times beat up on artists who go pop, and it's not so much that, but something about his sound got really generic at the turn of the decade. And that has kind of in my opinion, pulled him out of the eye. A lot of fans don't know that he's continued to release an album pretty much every 2 or 3 years. He hasn't gone anywhere. But most of his profile has been Twitter and social justice and that whole thing. So I'm interested in seeing what this album is, but I don't know. The track record isn't that stellar right now. I did like the one single. I don't know about the others, so we'll see what we have.
I will say this, though, guys. I will say John Legend wins the award for best promotional tool during the pandemic, because this is exactly what he needed. The VERZUZ. Can you imagine the hundreds of thousands of people tuned in that he can plug his album for? That's perfect. It comes out that day, so it'll be ready. I love that.
And I don't understand why no one else did this. Like, this is the perfect opportunity. You will have so many eyeballs on you, captive, literal captive audience, because ain't nobody going nowhere. Use this to plug the album that we've talked earlier about new ways to promote your music. This is how you do it. You don't wait to go on, I've got to go on 106 in Park to talk to AJ and Free. That's not going to happen, dog. 2020 or not. This
and
is
I'll
how
take
you
it a
do
step further. I'll take it one step further, Kyle. I think Alicia Keys should drop her album that same day. She's been pushing it back through the pandemic. She should drop it the same day. Surprise.
Exactly. Both of them come out the same day. You promote your hits. You play a couple of joints off your new ones, and people will... And this is a streaming era. Nobody buys anything. They will just go stream it to check it out, just out of curiosity. Yep. Mm-hmm. Missed opportunity.
That's actually a pretty good idea. Although I'm pretty much, I think Alicia Keys is going to dominate John Legend in this. But you know how I feel about John, so.
Dude, did you see the comments on our Facebook page? People are like, snooze fest. Not for a Friday night. I need to turn up. Like, damn. Brutal.
It's true.
But I think people
it's not
are just
a snooze fest. Come on.
I don't know.
People are forgetting.
It might be a rap.
Oh, gosh. Y'all are forgetting. Because you're thinking about current day. Alicia has hits for a decade. She's got hits.
That's true.
Early John Legend had joints. He trailed off near the end, but he had joints. I think it'll definitely be a decent turnout. Now, if you're trying to turn up, no, this isn't the turn-up session. But everything don't have to be about turning up.
Exactly. I mean, did we forget that slow jams exist and that people could listen to music with feeling? I mean, we just diss it now? It's crazy.
Guys, we're in 2020.
Tom.
Different time. I got another album to talk about that's coming out relatively soon. Avant. He's going to be dropping a new album soon. He just dropped a new single, Edible. Tom, Avant is finally back. Actually, let me say this. Avant is actually alive. For all the conspiracy theorists out there.
Yeah, Avant is alive and well. We'll be interviewing him to talk about this new album. What's the name of the album? It has an interesting title. I can't remember on the top of my head. It's like We Should Fall in Love or something Edible. Like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, the song it's been 4 years, I think, since his last album came out, so he usually turns into something solid, so he's actually one of my favorites. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Ed, remember on one of our older podcasts, Tom kept trying to champion the song Special?
Oh, I remember. I remember that very well. And Avant's one of those artists... No, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just you like to get on. You'll be like, this song, we're going to push this song to the moon. And we're like, all right, calm down, though. This song's all right.
Oh, man.
But Avant is one of those artists I feel like in a lot of ways we take for granted. When you look at especially his early run in the 2000s, that man had hits after hit after hit after hit. And for some reason, his name just doesn't come up in these conversations, even when we're being nostalgic. Shout out to my girl Cassandra Jordan on the Soul and Stereo Cypher on Facebook. Go check us out if you're there, because she has asked me every week for the past year to rank his albums, and I always forget. So I had to make that a priority leading up to his new album release.
Do you guys realize the moment I get excited about something, you guys get on my case for it? Remember when I was championing Van Jess, and all of a sudden I was their manager? According to you guys?
Because I'm pretty sure you're getting kickbacks. Because why are we still talking about Van Jess? Every 3 months or so, you got to be like, hey guys, stream that Van Jess yet?
Oh my goodness.
Guys, I'm really looking forward to this Avant album. He always gives us something special, no pun intended. But Ed, I'm really looking forward to seeing if he butchers the English language once again. Remember the song Mines Does?
Oh my
I totally forgot about that. Yes, I remember that now.
Yes.
I like that song, guys.
It's actually a pretty good song.
I mean, I like it too, but married to a former English teacher, that's kind of a strain.
I got to talk about this one here. K-Ci Hailey dropped the new record. It was a tribute to Andre Harrell, and he sounds great on this record. And I also realized that he's the older brother and JoJo is the younger brother. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it was weird because you were like all confused. You were like, I didn't know. I thought everybody knew. Yeah, JoJo's old head. I mean, not by much, but he's old.
How old are they? Does anyone know?
Must be in their 50s, I would say.
I'm pretty sure they were born around 70. So
I looked it up. K-Ci is 50, and JoJo is 49.
Yeah, they're about a little over 10 years older than me. That sounds about right.
Damn.
Yeah.
50,
I didn't realize
49.
that. But Tom, K-Ci, we've been waiting on this solo album. This new song comes out. Does that mean we're getting closer?
No, I don't think this has anything to do with the album. I think it was just a tribute to Andre Harrell, who, as most of you know, signed Jodeci to Uptown back in the day and helped turn them into stars. So I haven't really seen any progress towards this solo album that he announced last year. So it's been probably almost a year. I'm not sure what's going on.
All I know, Ed, I need your social media expertise on this. He's somehow verified on Twitter. I think he just signed up for like 3 days ago. He has like 100 followers, but he's verified, yet we have 8,000 and we can't get verified? What's going on?
Playa, I wish people ask me all the time about the verification process. I don't know. It's like so random. I have a friend who I think he's finally verified, but he had like tens of thousands of followers too, and he was trying to get verified. And I have like 1,000, and I got verified. I don't know. I guess I don't know. Whoever you know. Instagram is weird. Twitter is weird.
Fair enough. So we got a couple of other things that I want to discuss here. The Grammys. Can we talk about the Grammys?
Oh boy, the Grammys. I almost forgot about this.
And Tom, as you guys know, is the #1 viewer of the Grammys. He catches it every single year, dating back to 2002 when Ashanti won for her debut album. Maybe it was 2003, I don't remember. But Ashanti was dominating the charts back in the day, Ed. The Grammys have recently changed a couple of things up. Shout-outs to my guy Harvey Mason Jr., who I interviewed probably about 3 weeks ago, and he told us that there were some changes going on that were going to happen, and here they are. Best Urban Contemporary Album has been renamed to Best Progressive R&B Album. Seems like an interesting title. I personally didn't ever really like Urban Contemporary album to begin with, so the change is nice, but I don't know if I like what it changed into. What do you guys think?
Well, if you go by soulandstereo.com not right now, after you finish listening to this, listen to it full, then go get the supplemental material, some reading material while you're sitting on the toilet or something. But Soul and Stereo, I actually wrote about this in full because I have, in long form, because I've been really interested in a lot of these categories. So you can see my further thoughts there. But I get the change. And first of all, we even had Harvey on the podcast as well, and he kind of broke that he was nominated to this position, well, put in this position with the Grammys, and we were very excited. He kind of dropped it at the end of the interview. We were kind of like, whoa, man, you should have led with that. So I'm very excited to have someone who is very tied to the roots of R&B to be in a strong position, because hopefully this can open the door for more artists. So I am hopeful, but still a little skeptical. And going to your mentality, Kyle, I agree. The urban contemporary title is weird. It means nothing. It sounds like a mall store in 2002 where you buy some baggy shirts and some apple bottom jeans and some jerseys and some button downs. It's weird. The progressive title, though, if you look at what it changed into, it didn't really change that much. It seems like this is an opportunity so they won't take as much heat. Because this is a category where it's kind of more of the, for lack of a better term, non-traditional R&B artists. Last year, I think Lizzo won. So this is where more of the ones that kind of like R&B/pop or R&B/hip-hop, they kind of land here. The reason why it worries me, though, is because these are artists that already would have got love in the main categories anyway. So this is another outlet for them, and it feels like, to me, squeezing out the Tamias and the Jasmine Sullivans. I know they still have the best R&B category, because that's where a lot of them land, the more traditional sounding ones. But it seems like we're kind of squeezing them out a little bit more for artists who would have probably gotten love in some of the other categories anyway. That's why I'm a little bit skeptical of this move.
And Tom, it's quite interesting. A lot of people were kind of pissed about this progressive title because I think everyone in some shape or form or fashion tries to progress with their music. So that caused a lot of controversy. Do you have a problem with the title, or is your biggest beef with the fact that it'll still be the same people being nominated for these awards?
Kyle, I don't find anything interesting about the Grammys. I haven't watched it in 15 years, and I don't plan to ever watch it again or support it, so that's my analysis.
All right. Well,
that's cheery. I will step in. I think that I know people are like all fired up about the title. The title doesn't bother me that much. I mean, when you look at the word progressive, the way it's used in music, whether it's progressive rock, progressive anything, that kind of means what it says. Like it means like moving the genre in a different direction. I think what fans are, they're more used to hearing like alt R&B. If they did that, I think people would be more accepting of it, so it doesn't sound so weird. But the title isn't wrong at all. And it's weird that people are so hung up on the title. I'm more hung up on the execution.
Well, let me bring it back to 2003 here. I just did some Wikipedia research here. 2003, Best Contemporary R&B Album, we had Full Moon, we had Faith Evans' Faithfully, we had Floetry's Floetic, and we had Ashanti's Debut, and Ashanti won, rightfully so, guys.
Oh my God! Can I send you back to 2003? Just stay there. But
I think that was a
to
fair
this
win.
category, since we were talking about, I think this urban contemporary category. The other thing is like this category isn't that old. Like it's when I was researching for my post, because you gotta research players before you write your rag they think pieces. I think this category was kind of created in like 2012 or so. So it's not even an old category. So
yeah, that was
again,
for the Frank Ocean.
Yeah, it's when Frank Ocean and those guys started coming through and stuff started getting weird. So I'm not mad. I'm worried because I worry about the traditional sound of R&B being continued to be squeezed out. That's what bothers me.
And then the other award that was changed was Best Rap Sung Performance. It was changed to Best Melodic Rap Performance. That kind of boxes out R&B acts who may have been nominated for being a feature. Best Melodic Rap just means more mumble rap awards.
Exactly. That one bothers me more than the whole progressive thing that everybody's worried about. Just call it the Aubrey Graham Annual Award because it's either him or Future that's going to get it every year. And again, it's kind of shutting out. Before we would get kind of a rapper and a R&B artist, so another lane for an R&B artist to be showcased. To me, this seems like again we're squeezing out more voices, and that bothers me. I will give my man benefit of the doubt because I'm cool. I love Harvey. I love what he's done. So we will see, but it makes me nervous.
Mm-hmm. Now, we got to get into the Playa Please Award really quickly here. This is a really exciting one. Ed, Storm will be played by Beyonce soon. Are you excited about that?
Playa, let me say this. I've been fussing about this for 2 days. Oh my gosh. I hate Twitter. I hate you all. I have not seen one tweet from Marvel or Beyonce that this woman is playing Storm. This is just all made up. The news was, if you actually research, you heathens, that she would be involved in Black Panther 2. That was the original statement. That has somehow turned into, let's create petitions to keep Beyonce from being Storm. Who said Storm was even going to be in this movie? Y'all take stuff too far.
Tom, if you were to play a character in the Marvel universe, would you want to be Colossus?
Yo, it'd be pretty cool to be Colossus. Either that or... Is Nightcrawler in any of these movies?
Yeah. He shows up every so often.
I don't watch movies, so I don't know, but the Nightcrawler would be cool, too. You just flash through a wall.
He's pretty cool in the movies.
Yep. Can we get into the SoulBack track of the day really quickly before we're out of here?
What you got today?
I got something up my sleeve here. Man. Tom, can we give a shout out to our boy Isaiah?
Shout out to Isaiah.
He discovered who Sam Salter is after 25 years of being too late. Can we go with the song After 12 Before 6?
All right.
That's a great song.
Yep. Shout out to Sam Salter.
Ed, what do you know about Sam Salter?
What do you mean, what do I know about Sam Salter? Please. While you were over here just waiting for Ashanti to debut in 2002 so you can have your Grammy moment in 2003, we've been rocking with him.
Fair enough. Shout out to Sam. Guys, I think that's
Great
it for
album,
this week.
by the way.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Isaiah just discovered it today, and he's been raving about it all day. But I think that's it for this week, guys. We celebrated 100 years. Not 100 years. Oh, that makes me feel old. 100 episodes.
100 years.
And we'll be back next week, hopefully back on video. If not, we'll be back on audio. And we'll just keep this thing going. Stay tuned for some more things. Ed, what's going on with soulandstereo.com?
Man, some of everything is going on soulandstereo.com. Again, we talked a little bit earlier about the Grammys, so go there to see my full thoughts on this switch from urban contemporary to progressive. The Chloe and Hailey review, or Chloe and Halle, somebody will tell me how to say this girl's name. Don't shame me, y'all. I gave it a good review. Don't be like Keisha Cole and send me a bunch of frowny faces. And then, as we touched on earlier, I went through and named the 25 best albums of 2020 so far. And a little bit of background on that. I almost didn't do it. And it's pretty easy to understand why. It's like nothing's coming out. And a lot of stuff that has come out is just kind of okay. But the reason why I decided to push through is because there are so many albums on this list that came out January, February that I feel like are really worth a note. And if you're like me, January and February feels like 4 years ago because that was before the world blew up. And I'm like, it's time to give some of these artists some shine. Luke James, Selena Johnson, Kevin Ross, a lot of these folks, PJ Morton, who put out good material that people have just totally forgot about. So that's what we do here on SoulBack for 100 plus episodes, shine the light on artists who deserve more attention and not haven't gotten it. So check out some of the best of the year so far.
Nice. And Tom, what's going on with You Know I Got Soul?
We've been putting out a lot of these interviews that we conducted on Instagram Live. We've kind of slowed down that series a bit. I mean, we did over 80 interviews in about 2 months. So, I mean, we were working hard, but we're making sure everyone could read them on the website and view them on YouTube. So we've been taking the time to get those edited and transcribed. So make sure you head over to the site if you missed any of those. And we still got more coming. We're going to be doing some more interviews. We got Kem coming up this week. We got scheduled with Brian McKnight coming up, and even Ralph Tresvant, believe it or not, when he releases his new single. We got the interview locked in. So still doing a lot of exciting things. More to come.
Man, shout out to Ralph.
Yes,
sir. July 3rd.
And then on my end, I've been trying to set up some interviews as well. Ed, you'll be really excited about this one. We just talked about Ashanti. I've been trying to interview the whole Murder Inc. family. Irv, Chris Gotti, even Seven Aurelius. And can I tell you my Seven Aurelius story, guys?
Shoot.
So Seven produced all of the Big Ja Rule and Ashanti records, so I hit him with a DM and said, I'd love to interview you to talk about everything that you've done, all those hits. And he replied back with, ask me 7 questions and I will give you 7 answers. And that was it.
Oh my God.
Like a Batman villain.
I was gonna say this dude sounds like he's either Riddler, like who player, just ugh. Oh
I love
God.
it.
I'm gonna chill, I'm gonna behave because I don't want Tom to get all riled up, so I won't say what I'll say.
I like it. I think
Good
it's funny.
Lord.
It's entertaining. It's different.
It's something. I don't know if it's entertaining, but it's something. Good. Just
Well,
answer
guys-
the question. Stop being ridiculous.
Well, speaking of 7, we're about to hit 107, so let's call it a podcast, and we'll be back next week with another one.
All right, players. Happy 100.
All right. Peace.
All right, guys.